The rain poured down heavily, drumming against the empty streets of the city. Christ, a single dad, clutched the umbrella in one hand and his small daughter, Lily, in the other. The world seemed gray and cold, but he was used to this routine, walking Lily to school, working long hours, and trying to keep life steady for the little family he had. He had no time for adventures or dreams. Love had never been on his agenda since the day his wife had passed away, leaving him alone to raise Lily. But today, something extraordinary was about to change everything. As Christ approached the small park near the school, he noticed a figure struggling in the rain. At first, he thought it was just a lost tourist or a homeless person, but as he came closer, he saw something that made him freeze. The figure was tall, lithe, and humanoid, but with subtle differences. Her skin shimmered slightly, almost like it was reflecting the raindrops differently, and her eyes were an intense violet that glowed faintly. She was wearing a torn military suit, and her body bore signs of struggle, cuts and bruises across her arms and legs. She was clearly exhausted, perhaps injured. "Are you okay?" Christ called out, his voice carrying through the rain. The figure looked at him with cautious eyes, almost as if weighing him. Then she stumbled, her body nearly giving in to gravity. Without thinking, Christ moved forward and caught her in his arms. She was surprisingly light for someone her size. Yet there was strength in her muscles, soldier's strength. "You shouldn't be out here alone," he said, trying to stay calm even as his heart raced. "Can I help you?" Her voice was soft but commanding, almost melodic. "I need shelter and medicine," she whispered, shivering. Christ's instincts as a father kicked in. He didn't hesitate. He wrapped her in his coat, shielding her from the relentless rain, and guided her to his car. He glanced back at Lily, who was looking at him with curiosity. "Stay here, sweetie. I'll be right back," he said. Though Lily insisted on coming along, driving through the rain-soaked streets, Christ's mind raced. Who was she? Why was a soldier from another world? He was beginning to suspect she wasn't human in his city streets. And yet, seeing her vulnerability, her exhaustion, stirred something deep in him. Something he thought had died with his wife, the desire to protect, to care for someone fully. At his apartment, he laid her gently on the sofa, and quickly grabbed a first aid kit. As he tended to her wounds, she watched him silently. Her eyes softened whenever they met his, and Christ felt an unfamiliar warmth spreading through his chest. There was something captivating about her, not just her otherworldly beauty, but the sense that beneath the armor and stoicism, there was someone fragile, someone human in need of kindness. "Why are you here?" Christ asked cautiously, cleaning a deep cut on her arm. "Escaped," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "My mission failed. They sent me here to hide, to survive." Christ's heart ached at her vulnerability. He wanted to wrap her in his arms and promise her safety. He had no idea what her mission meant, but at that moment, it didn't matter. She needed him, and he would not hesitate. For days, he helped her recover. Christ cooked meals for her, brought her blankets, and even found an old armchair where she could rest comfortably. Alina, he learned her name eventually, was quiet, thoughtful, and strangely fascinated by human life. She would watch Lily play, her alien eyes widening with curiosity, and sometimes she would smile, a real, warm smile that made Christ's chest tighten. One evening, as the rain fell outside once more, Christ found himself sitting beside her on the sofa. She was wrapped in a blanket, her eyes fixed on the window. "You've saved me," she said softly. I don't know how to repay you." Christ chuckled lightly, brushing a strand of wet hair from her face. "You don't owe me anything. Everyone deserves help when they need it. Even aliens." His words made her laugh softly, a sound so delicate that he felt like the world had stopped around them. "Christ," she whispered, her hand brushing his heart skipped. "I feel something here, something I don't understand." Christ looked into her violet eyes and realized he felt the same. There was a pull, a connection neither of them could explain. It was more than gratitude, more than friendship. It was a spark that had the potential to burn brightly if they allowed it. The rain outside mirrored the storm of emotions inside him: confusion, longing, fear, but above all, hope. Hope that perhaps love could find him again, even in the most unexpected places. Even with someone from a world he didn't understand. That as the night deepened and the rain continued to fall, Christ gently held her hand. She leaned closer, resting her head on his shoulder, and in that quiet, intimate moment, the walls between human and alien, stranger and friend, began to dissolve. Something extraordinary was beginning, something neither of them had anticipated. but both were powerless to resist. Little did Christ know, this encounter in the rain was only the beginning. The universe had plans for him and Alina that would challenge everything he thought he knew about love, family, and destiny. And somewhere deep inside, he realized that his life was about to change forever. The morning sun struggled to pierce through the heavy clouds, casting a soft gray light across Christ's small apartment. Alina had stayed awake much of the night, sitting by the window and staring at the city streets below. Christ had watched her from the kitchen as he made breakfast, marveling at the strange combination of strength and vulnerability she carried. Her otherworldly presence was magnetic, impossible to ignore, and each day that passed, he found himself drawn to her more, in ways he could neither fully understand nor deny. "Good morning," he said softly, placing a plate of scrambled eggs and toast on the table. Alina turned, her violet eyes meeting his. For a moment, there was silence heavy with unspoken feelings. "Good morning, Christ," she said finally, her voice low, almost shy. There was a softness in her tone that he hadn't heard before, and it made his chest tighten. "You're looking better today," he added, trying to keep the conversation light, though his heart was pounding. Alina nodded. "Thanks to you, and your daughter," she said, her gaze flicking toward Lily, who was humming as she played with her toys nearby. "She is special," Christ smiled, feeling warmth flood through him. Lily had always been his anchor, his reason to keep going. But seeing her kindness and innocence reflected in Alina's eyes made something stir inside him. There was a beauty in watching the two of them, human and alien, connect in ways words could never capture. "Do you want to eat?" he asked, gesturing to the food. Alina shook her head slightly, not hungry. Yet, her eyes lingered on him, and he felt that familiar pull, the spark that had ignited during that first rainy night. As the day progressed, Christ tried to keep things normal, though nothing about having Alina in his home was normal. She moved with grace, almost floating across the apartment. But there were moments when she seemed lost, confused by the simplest human behaviors. At one point, she asked about television, and when Christ explained it, she laughed, a clear, musical sound that made his heart skip again. By evening, a heavy tension had settled between them. Christ had tried to push away the feelings he knew were growing too quickly. Alina was not human, and yet, every glance, every touch, seemed to break down the walls he had built around his heart. "Need to tell you something," Alina said suddenly, her voice shaking slightly as she stood near the window. The rain had returned, tapping rhythmically against the glass. "Christ, I am not just any alien. I am a soldier from another world. My mission, it was dangerous, and I failed. I came here to survive, but I cannot stay forever. I will be hunted." Christ's chest tightened. He had suspected that her story was more complicated than she had let on, but hearing it out loud made reality hit hard. "I don't care," he said, stepping closer. I want you here. You're safe here, for as long as you need to be." Alina's eyes softened, glistening with moisture. I have not felt this before," she whispered. "Humans are so fragile, yet you make me feel something I do not understand." He reached for her hand, gently holding it. "Then maybe we don't need to understand it. Maybe we just feel it." For the first time, Alina let herself relax completely in his presence. She leaned into him, resting her forehead against his chest. The warmth of his body, the steady beat of his heart, and the simple comfort of being near someone who genuinely cared for her made her feel emotions she had never experienced on her own planet: trust, affection, and the fragile, intoxicating pull of love. The days that followed were a delicate dance of emotions. Christ taught Alina how to do simple human things: how to cook pasta, how to play a board game with Lily, how to sit quietly and enjoy the sun on the balcony. In return, Alina shared glimpses of her world, the starscapes she had flown across, the alien landscapes she had battled through, and the weight of duty she had carried for her people. Christ listened, fascinated and awed, realizing that this woman, this alien soldier, was unlike anyone he had ever known. One rainy evening, as they were watching Lily sleep, Alina turned to Christ. "You saved me," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Not just from the rain, not just from being alone, but from something inside myself. I feel alive because of you." Christ's heart ached with longing. He sat beside her, taking her hand and pressing it to his lips. "Alina, I feel the same. I've been afraid to love again, but with you, I don't want to be afraid anymore." Their eyes met, and in that quiet moment, the unspoken tension between them broke. He leaned in slowly, and she met him halfway. Their lips touched in a gentle, trembling kiss, soft yet electric. The rain outside mirrored the storm of emotions inside them: passion, relief, vulnerability, and the profound connection that had grown between them. Afterward, they stayed close, foreheads touching, hands intertwined. Words were unnecessary. Their bond had grown beyond explanations or rationality. It was something primal, something deeper than human or alien distinctions. It was love, raw and uncontrollable. Yet, even as they embraced, a shadow loomed. Alina's words about being hunted were not empty threats. Somewhere, out there in the vastness of space, enemies were searching for her. Christ knew that their time together could be fleeting if danger came, but he refused to let fear control them. "Then we fight together," he said firmly. "Whatever comes, we face it. You are not alone." Alina's violet eyes shone with gratitude and something more: a fierce, unspoken promise. "Christ, if I am to leave, I want to leave knowing I have felt love. Truly, you don't have to leave," he whispered, holding her close. "Stay with me, stay with us. We'll make this work. I promise." The rain continued to fall that night, but inside Christ's apartment, a new warmth had taken root. It was the warmth of connection, of trust, and of love that refused to be bound by worlds or species. He had never imagined that life could bring something so extraordinary into his ordinary existence. For Alina, the experience was equally transformative. She had spent her life fighting, surviving, and following orders. Love had never been part of her mission. And yet, in Christ's arms, she discovered something she had never expected: the beauty of vulnerability, the power of human connection, and the intoxicating possibility of a life shared with someone who cared for her entirely. They did not yet know what the future held. The universe was vast, and danger was inevitable. But for the first time, Christ and Alina allowed themselves to hope. Hope that love could bridge worlds, that hearts could connect across galaxies, and that the bond they shared was strong enough to face whatever challenges came next. That night, as the rain fell and the city slept, Christ held Alina close, and as their hearts beat together in quiet harmony, both of them understood one undeniable truth: they had found something rare, something precious, and something worth protecting no matter the cost. And somewhere, in the darkness beyond the stars, forces that had set their paths in motion began to stir. Unaware that a human and an alien had discovered a force far stronger than any weapon: love. The rain had stopped, leaving the city streets glistening under the soft glow of streetlights. Christ and Alina had spent the morning in quiet companionship, sharing breakfast and laughing softly as Lily built towers of blocks. Their bond had grown deeper with every passing day. What began as a chance encounter in a storm had become something neither of them wanted to let go. Yet, a shadow lingered over their happiness: the unspoken truth that Alina's past would eventually catch up with her. Christ watched her from across the room, marveling at the way sunlight kissed the faint shimmer of her violet skin. Her presence in his life had shifted everything: his grief, his loneliness, and even the careful walls he had built around his heart. And now, as he observed the way she smiled at Lily, he realized something terrifying and beautiful. He was in love, deeply, unapologetically. "Christ," Alina said suddenly, turning to him with her usual mix of strength and vulnerability. I feel something I have never felt before. With you, and with your daughter, I feel home, safe, loved." And yet, her voice faltered as she glanced toward the window, as if sensing something beyond the city limits. He stepped closer, brushing a damp strand of her shimmering hair from her face. "I know," he said softly. "I can feel it too. But whatever comes, we'll face it together. You're not alone, Alina. Not now, not ever." Her eyes softened, glistening as she reached for his hand. "Christ, I wish it could always be like this. I wish I didn't have to fight anymore. I just want to be with you." And Lily. He pulled her into his arms, holding her close, feeling the steady warmth of her body against his. In that moment, the world outside, the danger, the alien forces hunting her, the uncertainty of tomorrow seemed to fade. There was only the present, only the quiet joy of love blooming in the midst of chaos. But the peace was fragile. A sudden vibration filled the room, a sharp, alien hum that made the hairs on Christ's arms stand on end. Alina stiffened in his arms, her violet eyes widening in alarm. "They've found me," she whispered, her voice tight with fear and urgency. "The hunters, the soldiers from my world, they've tracked me here. They will come." Christ's mind raced. He had known danger was inevitable, but the reality of it crashing into their lives so suddenly was terrifying. "Then we fight," he said, his voice steady despite the adrenaline surging through him. "We protect Lily, and we protect each other, no matter what." Alina nodded, a fierce determination lighting up her eyes. "I will not let them hurt you. Or Lily," she said. "But I cannot fight forever, not without you by my side." And Christ realized, at that moment, that he did not want to fight alone either. He had survived loss and heartbreak, but he had never known the strength of love until he met her. He would stand with her not as a stranger, not as a mere protector, but as someone who loved her with everything he had. Night fell, and the city streets became quiet. Christ fortified the apartment as best he could, moving furniture to block doors and windows. Alina's alien abilities were extraordinary, her strength, speed, and reflexes far beyond human, but Christ brought a calm determination that grounded them both. Lily slept peacefully, unaware of the storm brewing just outside their door. Then, a shattering crash echoed through the building. The hunters had arrived. Alina's eyes blazed with violent fury as she prepared to defend them. "Christ, stay close to Lily. I will handle this," she said, her voice resolute, but Christ refused to leave her side. "No, we face this together," he said, gripping her hand. "I promised you, I'm not letting you fight alone." The battle that followed was fierce and surreal. Shadows moved across the apartment, alien forms slipping between walls and corners. Alina's strength was astounding. She moved like a whirlwind, striking with precision, deflecting attacks that would have killed a human instantly. Christ fought alongside her with courage he didn't know he possessed, using whatever he could find to protect them. And through it all, their eyes met repeatedly, each glance a silent promise of trust, love, and devotion. Finally, after what felt like hours, the apartment fell silent. The hunters had retreated, wounded and defeated, unable to comprehend the bond between a human father and an alien soldier. Alina sank to the floor, exhausted but alive, and Christ pulled her into his arms. "You did it," he whispered, his voice breaking with relief. "We did it, together." She leaned against him, her body trembling. I couldn't have done it without you. Christ, you are more than I imagined, more than I ever thought possible." He brushed her hair back, pressing his lips to her forehead. "And you, Alina, you are everything I never knew I needed. You, Lily, us. This is my world now." The rain began again outside, a soft patter against the windows, as if celebrating their victory. And in that quiet moment, Christ realized that love was not about safety or certainty. Love was about choosing each other, even when the world was against you. Choosing to fight, to protect, and to cherish, no matter the odds. Alina looked up at him, her violet eyes shimmering with tears. "Christ, I want to stay with you and Lily forever." "Can I?" "You already are," he said, holding her close. "And you always will be." In the days that followed, they rebuilt their sense of normalcy. Alina learned more about human life, finding joy in small moments, cooking, laughing, playing with Lily. Christ discovered new depths of courage and love, knowing that the woman he loved had crossed galaxies to be with them. Their bond grew stronger, an unbreakable mix of passion, trust, and shared experience that neither human nor alien force could destroy. And then came the unexpected. One quiet evening, as they watched the sunset from the balcony, Alina's body began to glow, softly a shimmering light that filled the small apartment. Christ's heart raced. "Alina, what's happening?" he asked, panic and awe mingling in his voice. She looked at him, a smile breaking across her face. "Christ, it's the energy of my world, my people. They've sensed the bond we share. They are granting me something because of love they never expected, a human heart, to protect and to cherish me." The glow enveloped her, radiating warmth and light. Christ reached for her, holding her hand as the energy coursed through her. In that moment, it was clear. Their love had transcended worlds. Something miraculous, something beyond explanation, was taking place. When the light faded, Alina stood before him, radiant and more alive than ever. "Christ, I am yours," she whispered, her violet eyes brighter than the stars. "And I am yours," he said, holding her close, "forever." Lily ran up to them, hugging both of them tightly. "Mom, Dad, Alina, you're glowing," she giggled, her innocence filling the room with laughter and life. Christ looked at Alina, then at his daughter, and realized that family could be forged in the most unexpected ways. Love had brought them together across worlds, through storms, through battles, and through fear. And now, it was stronger than ever, unbreakable and eternal. That night, as the city slept and the rain whispered against the windows, Christ and Alina held each other close. They had survived battles, discovered love, and found a home in one another. And while the universe was vast and unpredictable, one truth was certain. They would face it all together, hand in hand, heart to heart, bound by a love that defied worlds. For in the end, love was the strongest force of Islanders had proven unstoppable.